殺したら負けなんだ。あいつらと同類になりてえのか。これは差別の歴史への復讐じゃねえんだ。俺がマリージュアでやったこともそう。つまらねえ世の鉄則は破ったが、虐げられる者たちの解放でしかない。この太陽の海賊団は I'm
not gonna hold y'all. Like the rest of the world, I was hella hyped when we finally touched down at Fishman Island after that 2-year time skip. I couldn't wait to see what the new and improved Straw Hat crew could actually do, especially after catching that little glimpse of them at Sabaody. But when we got into OG anime was to say the least. It didn't hit like it could've. Fast forward a decade plus and the One Piece remake breathed a new life into the Fishman Island arc. What they did with the updated version low-key felt like what Bleach did with the 1,000-Year Blood War. Crazy visuals, emotional weight, pacing, and way more depth. But I'll save the deep dive into that arc for another day. Today, I want to talk about something that gets often overlooked, the ideology behind one of the arc's most powerful characters, Fisher Tiger, and how his ideals and actions mirror one of the most important civil rights leaders in history, Malcolm X. Yo, welcome back to the China House fam. It's your boy Jay back with another one. Today I want to talk about one of the most important characters in One Piece, the legendary Fisher Tiger. And as always, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn them alerts and notifications on for more amazing content from the House of Animation. But first, let's drop that intro. Fisher Tiger wasn't just a freedom fighter in One Piece, he's a direct allusion to Malcolm X, embodying the pain, pride, and resistance of an oppressed people, using radical action and fierce independence to challenge a system built on discrimination, while standing in ideological opposition to Queen Otohime's more peaceful MLK Jr. inspired approach. I got a few key examples that show why these two characters line up so closely with their real-world counterparts. So let's break this joint down. Fisher Tiger was beloved by his people, a hero to the fishmen. His presence alone commanded deep respect. When he returned to Fishman Island in his flashback, even the usually combative Arlong and Jinbei stopped their fighting and immediately deferred to him, calling him Big Bro. After a long and painful journey, Tiger went straight to King Neptune and Queen Otohime, not to ask permission, but out of respect, to inform them that he was launching an assault on the Holy Land of Mary Joie. His goal? To free the slaves, after witnessing firsthand the atrocities committed by humans, especially the celestial dragons. His mission was rooted in one idea: freedom through force, not peace. He didn't care whether the slaves were fishmen, mermen, or humans. He saw oppression enacted. This mirrors the early life of Malcolm Little, later known as Malcolm X. Just like Tiger, Malcolm experienced systematic abuse at the hands of a racist society. Forced into a life of crime to survive, he was imprisoned, and that time in prison became a turning point, a spiritual and political awakening. He broke from the white supremacy, joined the Nation of Islam, and developed a militant worldview. Both Fisher Tiger and Malcolm X had their identities forged through trauma. Both came to believe that true liberation for their people required action, not negotiation. Their shared distrust of humans and white America respectively became the foundation of their leadership and ideology. Tiger's bold assault on the Holy Land of Mary Joie didn't just free the slaves, it inspired a movement. His actions gave birth to the Sun Pirates, a crew made up of former slaves and proud fishermen who saw his cause as righteous. For some like Jinbei, it was a noble stand of pride and liberation, so much that Jinbei resigned from the royal army to follow him. For others like Arlong, it was a green light to wage an all-out war on humans. While they all fought under Fisher Tiger's banner, they interpreted his ideals differently, some with restraint, others with hatred. Together, they burned off the celestial dragon slave mark from their bodies and replaced them with the sun, a symbol of pride, identity, and freedom. This single act redefined what it meant to be a fishman, no longer a servant, but someone who could choose their own path. However, the same rebellion also caused ripples back home. Fishman Island was banned from participating in the revelry, and Otohime's peaceful peaceful petition to join the surface world was denied. Though she disagreed with his methods, Otohime knew that she couldn't stop him. Through her observation haki, she heard the pain in his heart that day. She recognized that his actions were rooted in real suffering. One of the most important lines in Fisher Tiger's flashback is actually repeated by Jinbei later, when he questions the logic of slavery and Queen Otohime's dream for coexistence.
おとなしく奴隷を返せ。お前たちのやっていることは大罪だ。奴隷はまかり通るが、奴隷解放は罪。これでも人間を愛せというのか。乙姫王妃。
This moment shows that Tiger's ideals were being passed down to the next generation. His influence wasn't just physical, it was ideological. His worldview of by any means necessary echoes Malcolm X's teaching within the Nation of Islam. Black pride, separation from white society, and the creation of an independent system. Why should the oppressed want to assimilate with those who enslaved them? Both Fisher Tiger and Malcolm X didn't just feel the truth personally, it was echoed by their followers who saw them in not hatred but survival. While Fisher Tiger believed humans could never truly change, Queen Otohime held on to a dream of unity, coexistence, and progression through nonviolence. You can't fault Fisher's militant worldview. He had tasted freedom as an adventurer, only to have it violently ripped away when he was enslaved by the celestial dragons. That trauma hardened his heart and made him see the world through a more jaded, realistic lens. Meanwhile, Otohime was ready to put her life on the line through diplomacy. She didn't just preach peace, she lived it. She spoke directly to her citizens, asking for their signatures to petition for Fishman Island to join the surface world. When the celestial dragon Mizo Guard was injured and nearly killed, she didn't hesitate to save him, taking a bullet in the process. That act of compassion directly led to improved relations between Fishman Island and the world government, and eventually their reinstatement into the Reverie. These two weren't enemies, they were fighting the same war, just by different means. Both wanted a better future for the next generation. Otohime believed that hatred should die with the current generation, so it wouldn't be passed on to children who never experienced the trauma in the first place. Her worst fear? That blind hatred would manifest in someone like Hody Jones, her own killer, who inherited rage without ever living through injustice. Fisher, despite his hatred of humans, showed depth and nuance. He didn't discriminate against human slaves, he freed people like the Boa sisters. He didn't pursue revenge against humanity. He took Koala, a traumatized human child, back to her home. He even burned the celestial dragon slave mark off her back and worked with her to recover from her Stockholm syndrome. He wanted to prove that not all fishmen were hateful or violent, and in doing so, he realized that not all humans were evil. This tragic irony echoes the ideological rift between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. One believed in change through resistance and separation, the other through peace and integration. Both paths carried weight, both came with sacrifice, but their shared dream, liberation, peace, and dignity for the next generation. The act of kindness Fisher Tiger showed Koala ultimately led to his death. After risking everything to return Koala to her hometown, her people betrayed him. They called the Marines and set up a trap. Fisher Tiger was ambushed, fatally wounded, and left to bleed out. But even on his deathbed, his ideals remain intact, more in line with Malcolm X than ever before. As he revealed to his crew, it wasn't just a betrayal that killed him. During his final journey, he was captured by the celestial dragons. He saw in the Holy Land the depravity, the cruelty, and the madness. It shattered whatever lingering hope he had in humanity. He grew to hate humans not because he wanted to, but because of what he had experienced. And when he lay dying, the only thing that could save him was a human blood transfusion. But how could he accept the blood of those he saw as responsible for the suffering of his people? Blood tainted by centuries of hatred and violence towards fishermen. He couldn't. So instead, Fisher Tiger chose to die standing on his beliefs, rather than live by compromising them. And that is why he will always be one of my favorite characters in One Piece. Not because he stood on business, it was because he stood on principle. Even in the face of death, he stayed true to his core values. And as a man, there's no higher level of respect than that. Even in death, he wasn't driven by revenge. He made a final request to the Sun Pirates: do not tell Koala the truth. Don't pass on down the hatred and let the next generation grow up without having the burden of inherited rage. That moment mirrors Malcolm X in his final years. After leaving the Nation of Islam, Malcolm began to soften, but not in his beliefs in black empowerment, but in his belief that hatred couldn't be the future. He began working with others, even white allies, and traveled the world to expand his worldview. But he never compromised the advancement of his people, even when it meant death. Fisher Tiger and Malcolm X both knew that the battle wasn't just about vengeance, it was about the future. And even though they died before seeing that change, their sacrifice planted seeds in a new generation. People like Koala, who would grow up unburdened by hate and ready to right the wrongs of the past. This wasn't just a powerful scene in One Piece. This was a moment that speaks to anyone who's ever felt the pain of discrimination and the burden of having to carry or break that cycle. Fisher Tiger in his final moments admitted that deep down, he believed Queen Otohime was right, that her vision of peace, understanding, and coexistence was the true path forward. But for a man scarred by the cruelty of the world, it was a dream he could no longer carry himself. The tragedy of their stories mirrors that of Malcolm X and MLK Jr., two leaders fighting the same war with different weapons. One believed in the fierce pride and protection of his people at all costs, the other believed in the power of unity, even with former oppressors. And just like Fisher and Otohime, both were taken before their time, before they could reconcile, before they could merge their philosophies into something unstoppable. One Piece doesn't just tell a story of pirates and adventure, it reflects the real world struggle of oppressed people fighting to shape a better world. The what if legacy of Fisher Tiger and Queen Otohime reminds us of how powerful it could be when radical truth meets radical love, and how devastating it is when the world silences both. Thank you, House fan, for stopping by the channel. We here at the House of Animation are dedicated to bringing you guys the best content we can, and we put a whole lot of hard work into these videos. So it would mean a lot if you could mash the like and subscribe button, and make sure to turn the noties and alerts on to make sure you do not miss out on our videos. Also, make sure to drop a comment below to let us know if you agree with this breakdown or what else you would like us to explore on this channel. And well, with that, House fam, you already know what it is, baby. Got a blast.